Hello there. If you are a new viewer, welcome to Nova Real Estate Solutions. I'm Dwight Morris, an estate and probate specialist at Innovation Properties in Fairfax, Virginia. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Today, I'm going to be diving into a topic that can feel overwhelming, but is incredibly important. Navigating the probate process when a loved one who passed away owned a small business here in Virginia. Losing someone is always difficult, and the grief can be even more intense when you're also faced with the responsibility of managing their estate. If that estate includes a business, the probate process takes on a whole new layer of complexity. Here in Virginia, handling a business during probate has its own set of unique legal steps and considerations. So in this video, I'm going to break down this process into manageable steps to give you a clear understanding of what's involved and how to navigate it more smoothly. Today, I'm going to cover what probate is, why businesses make probate more complex, key steps to handling a business in probate, common pitfalls, and proactive steps for business owners to take. So let's start with the basics. Probate is the legal process of settling the estate of someone who has passed away. This involves a few key things: identifying and valuing all the deceased person's assets, taking care of any outstanding debts and taxes they may have had, and then finally, distributing what's left to the rightful heirs or beneficiaries. This distribution follows what's written in their will, assuming they had one. If not, Virginia law will dictate who receives what. In Virginia, this whole process is overseen by the circuit court in the county where the deceased person lived. Now, when a business enters the picture, that's when things get more complicated. It's no longer just about bank accounts and real estate. We're now looking at ongoing operations of a business, the ownership structure of it, any contracts or agreements it might have had, and the overall financial health and viability of the business itself. This means we need a much more detailed and often a more time-sensitive approach to make sure the business is handled correctly and in line with Virginia law. So what's the very first thing you need to do if you're dealing with the probate of an estate that includes a business? It's absolutely crucial to figure out the legal structure the business was operating under. This structure will have a huge impact on how the business is treated during probate and what options are available for its future. Here are some common types we see in Virginia. A sole proprietorship is the simplest form. The business isn't legally separate from the owner, so the business's assets and debts are considered personal to the deceased. Legally, the sole proprietorship usually ends when the owner passes away, although its assets can still be sold or transferred through probate. A partnership involves two or more people sharing profits and losses. There's usually a partnership agreement that outlines what happens if a partner dies. Probate will need to follow this agreement, which might involve the remaining partners buying out the deceased share or even dissolving the partnership. An LLC is a separate legal entity from its owners, called members. Their operating agreement usually has rules about what happens when a member passes away, like transferring their ownership interest, allowing other members to buy it, or even dissolving the LLC. Probate will focus on transferring the deceased membership interest according to this agreement, or Virginia law if there is no agreement. A corporation is a more formal, separate legal entity owned by shareholders. When a shareholder dies, their shares become part of their probated estate and are transferred to their heirs based on the will or intestacy laws. The corporation itself usually continues to operate, and the transfer of shares might affect control depending upon how many shares the deceased owned. Understanding this legal structure is the foundation for everything that follows in the probate process when a business is involved. Once you know the business type, the next thing you need to do is find the will and take a close look at the overall estate plan. A well-thought-out estate plan might have specific instructions about how the business is to be handled in probate, which can be incredibly helpful. The will might name someone specific to take over the business. The deceased might have clearly stated what they wanted to happen to the business, with instructions to sell it, continue it, or dissolve it. Or there might be plans for someone to run things temporarily. Now, if there's no valid will, Virginia's intestacy laws will determine how all assets, including the business, are distributed. This might not be what the deceased would have wanted for their business. All right, with the business structure identified and the estate plan reviewed, or the absence of one noted, the next step is to officially start the probate process with the court. This involves going to the local circuit court clerk's office in the county where the deceased lived. You will need to file the original will if there is one. A copy of the will is not sufficient. The court will then formally appoint someone to manage the estate. This involves taking an oath and providing some information. Virginia has a state probate tax that you will need to pay. This is based on the value of the probate estate. The court might require what's called a surety bond to protect the estate's assets. Once everything is in order, the court will issue what are called letters testamentary if there's a will and an executor was named, or letters of administration if there's no will and an administrator needs to be appointed. These documents are your official proof that you have the legal authority to act on behalf of the deceased estate, including managing the business. With the legal authority in hand, the next crucial step is to really evaluate the business itself. As the personal representative, you need to quickly assess if the business can continue to operate. This involves asking some important questions. Is the business currently running? Are there ongoing contracts, employees, and income? Are people relying on it, employees, vendors, or customers? Could disruption cause significant problems? And is the business profitable, or is it struggling financially? Several factors will influence whether the business can continue. For example, a sole proprietorship legally can't keep operating in the same way without the original owner. However, its assets can be managed and sold. LLCs and corporations, being separate legal entities, have a better chance of continuing operations, especially if their governing documents allow for it. It's critical to remember that you need those letters testamentary or administration before making any significant operational decisions. Continuing to operate without that legal standing can create serious liability issues for the estate and for you personally. If the business is an LLC, partnership, or corporation, the next step involves some serious document review. Business documents often contain vital information about what happens to ownership when an owner passes away. We're talking about things like an operating agreement for LLCs. This outlines management, ownership rights, and how membership interests are transferred, including upon death. A partnership agreement for partnerships. This governs the partner's relationship and usually has rules for a partner's death, like buyout clauses. Corporate bylaws for corporations. These are the internal rules for running the corporation and might address share transfers. Buy-sell agreements. These are legal contracts that outline how a deceased owner's interest will be transferred, often involving a sale to the remaining owners or the business itself. They usually specify how the business will be valued and the payment terms. These documents can provide clear direction on how to handle the deceased business interest and can significantly impact the probate process. They might indicate if further surviving owners have to or get to buy the deceased share, how much it's worth, and when that needs to happen. To get a clear picture of the business's financial standing, and for legal and tax purposes, you'll likely need a professional business valuation. An accurate valuation is crucial for several reasons. The business's value is part of the overall estate value, which is used for tax calculations. Remember, while Virginia doesn't have a state estate tax, federal taxes may apply. If the business is being sold or if there's a buy-sell agreement, a professional valuation gives you a fair market price. If the business or its proceeds are going to multiple heirs, a valuation ensures a fair distribution. A business appraiser will look at things like the business's assets and debts, its reputation and brand, its past and projected income, and sales of similar businesses. Getting this professional valuation is a key step in staying compliant with tax rules and ensuring fair transactions. As the personal representative, you're also responsible for managing the financial side of the estate, including the deceased business. This involves identifying and then notifying all creditors of both the deceased and the business so they can file claims against the estate. Using the estate's assets, including business assets or sale proceeds, to pay off all legitimate debts. Filing tax returns, including the deceased final personal income tax return. Any estate income tax returns if the business continues to operate during probate, ongoing business tax filings, and potentially a federal estate tax return if the estate's value exceeds the federal threshold. Dealing with the taxes of a deceased business owner can be complex, so it's wise to seek help from a tax professional. Once you have a good understanding of the business's status, have reviewed the documents and assessed the finances. You'll need to make some big decisions about its future. Based on the will, again if there is one, and Virginia law, you'll generally have three main options. If one or more heirs want to take over the business, the legal ownership needs to be transferred. This might involve transferring shares in a corporation or membership in an LLC, and proper legal documents will be necessary. If no heirs want to run it, or if it seems like the best option, the business can be sold as a whole, or its assets can be sold off. The money from the sale then becomes part of the estate to be distributed. If the business isn't viable, or the estate doesn't have the funds to keep it going, you might need to formally close it down. This involves canceling licenses, notifying people, paying final bills, and selling off any remaining assets. The proceeds are then distributed. This decision needs to be made carefully, keeping in mind what's best for the estate and the beneficiaries, and following any instructions the deceased may have left. After all the debts, taxes, and business matters are handled, you can finally move on to distributing the remaining assets of the estate. This might include the proceeds from selling the business or the transferred ownership of the business itself. Before the final distribution, the executor or administrator usually needs to provide a final accounting to the court, detailing all the estate's income, expenses, and distributions. Once the court approves this, the estate can be officially closed, and your duties as the personal representative are complete. Navigating probate where a business is involved can be challenging. Here are some common mistakes to watch out for. Many small business owners don't have a clear plan for what should happen to their business when they die, which can create a lot of confusion. Disagreements among family members about who should get the business or how it should be run can lead to lengthy and expensive legal battles. Not properly valuing the business or misunderstanding the tax laws can result in unexpected and significant tax bills. Conflicting business documents or unclear situations can lead to legal disputes and delays. For business owners watching this, there are definitely steps you can take now to make things easier for your loved ones down the road. First, create a clear estate plan with business instructions. Explicitly state what should happen to your business in your will or trust. Be sure to draft or update operating or any buy-sell agreements. Make sure these agreements clearly outline what happens to ownership upon death. Choose and train a successor. If you want the business to continue, identify and prepare someone to take it over. Consider a revocable living trust. Assets in a trust can often bypass the probate process entirely. Purchase life insurance. This can provide funds for a business buyout if needed. Proactive planning can make a huge difference in ensuring a smoother transition for your business and your family. Probate's a complex process on its own, and when you add a business into the mix here in Virginia, it becomes even more intricate. Understanding these steps, being aware of potential pitfalls, and planning ahead are all crucial for navigating this challenging time effectively. Whether the business continues, is sold, or is carefully wound down, The decisions made during probate have a significant impact. If you're facing the complexities of probate involving a deceased business owner, I highly recommend seeking professional guidance. Consult with a probate attorney, a business succession lawyer, a CPA or tax advisor, and a business appraiser. Getting the right expertise early on can save you significant time, money, and stress, and help you honor your loved one's legacy while protecting their hard-earned assets. Thank you for watching today. If you found this information helpful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insights into real estate, estate planning, and probate here in Northern Virginia. If you have any questions or would like to discuss your specific situation, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My contact information is in the video description. I'm here to help.